Before he died, Arnold Palmer revealed the golfers. He never respected Arnold Palmer was called the King. His handshake was worth millions. He won 62 PGA Tour events and transformed golf from an exclusive gentleman's sport into a cultural phenomenon. Late in his life, Palmer did something unexpected. In interviews and personal reflections, he broke his own code of silence. He identified the golfers he never respected. His reasons had nothing to do with tournament records or earnings. They were about something fundamental, his beliefs about what a champion should be. To understand what Palmer didn't respect, you need to understand who he was. Palmer wasn't simply a golfer. He was the first celebrity athlete of the television age. In the 1950s and 1960s, he fundamentally changed the game. Before Palmer, golf was perceived as elitist, a sport for the wealthy, played by quiet men in exclusive clubs. Palmer changed that entirely. He was direct, accessible, and aggressive on the course. He played with visible intensity. Americans connected with him because he resembled them far more than previous champions. He won the Masters in 1958 and continued winning majors throughout the early 1960s. He became synonymous with excellence. Young golfers idolized him. Television ratings for tournaments increased significantly because people wanted to watch him play. But Palmer's approach to the game went beyond talent. He operated according to a personal code, a philosophy about what being a champion meant. Palmer believed respect had to be earned. He valued character. He believed how you conducted yourself away from the course mattered as much as your swing. He was known for remembering fans' names and details from years earlier. He remained accessible when other celebrities created distance between themselves and the public. He treated golf as something larger than himself, as something to be preserved. As he aged into his 70s and 80s, Palmer evaluated other players through this lens. He asked not just whether they won, but how they won, whether they honoured the game, whether they understood their responsibility as champions. Several golfers fell short by his standards, not because they lacked tournament victories, but because of how they pursued them and what they compromised in the process. Palmer's most significant critique involved Jack Nicklaus, though the relationship was far more subtle than a simple rivalry. Palmer respected Nicklaus's talent. He had no choice. Nicklaus was arguably the greatest ball striker in golf history. 18 major championships, consistent excellence, a record that seemed untouchable. What Palmer believed Nicklaus lacked was connection, a connection to the game's foundation and to the people who loved it. From Palmer's perspective, Nicklaus played golf scientifically. His approach was methodical and calculating. He didn't bring the game to audiences the way Palmer had. He didn't make golf feel like something transcendent. Instead, his play was technically perfect but emotionally distant. The methodology produced championships, but Palmer felt it produced a hollow legacy. Brilliant on a scorecard but empty in terms of impact. Palmer won people. Nicklaus won trophies. This distinction was important to Palmer. Nicklaus was objectively better on paper, more majors, lower averages, superior statistics. But Palmer's view of respect encompassed more than objective achievement. It included character and the ability to inspire. Palmer had a sharper criticism of another contemporary, Gary Player. Player was unquestionably accomplished. 3 major championships, international success, extraordinary work ethic and mental resilience. By conventional measures, he was exceptional. Palmer had a specific problem with Player. He believed Player operated without genuine respect for fair play. This wasn't about violating written rules. It was subtler. Palmer believed Player would push every grey area, moving his ball when cameras were not watching, taking liberties with gallery lines that technically weren't illegal, employing psychological tactics against opponents that crossed what Palmer considered the gentleman's code. Palmer himself was ruthless on the course. He was a fierce competitor, but he operated with boundaries. He viewed golf as fundamentally a gentleman's game, and that meant certain behaviours simply did not happen, regardless of what the rulebook permitted. Player, in Palmer's assessment, cared more about winning than preserving the integrity that gave those victories meaning. Player had the talent to be remembered as a true champion. Instead, he took shortcuts. When asked about Player in later interviews, Palmer would pause. He chose his words carefully. There was disappointment in his response. The the kind you feel when someone you know is capable of genuine greatness squanders it through their choices. Palmer's observations extended beyond his generation. As professional golf evolved from a club-based tradition into a global entertainment industry, Palmer watched a new generation of players emerge. He had clear views about them. Palmer was skeptical of what he called an obsession with style over substance. He observed players far more concerned with sponsorships, social media presence, and personal branding than with the deeper work of mastering their craft. They employed specialists for everything: swing coaches, mental coaches, fitness experts, nutrition advisors, outsourcing every element of development. Palmer wasn't opposed to instruction. His father was a golf professional, and he understood the value of coaching. But he believed something critical was being lost: the principle of earning understanding through struggle. Palmer learned golf through repetition and failure. He discovered his abilities and limitations through direct experience. That process shaped his character. It created humility and resilience. When younger players outsourced that entire education, Palmer felt they missed something essential. They acquired technique without the wisdom that comes from struggling to develop it themselves. He was critical of what he called manufactured excellence. Golfers with every resource available, but without the character foundation that gives achievement real meaning. You could have perfect technique and still not be a true champion. Palmer had a specific critique of Sergio Garcia. This wasn't about integrity or character. It concerned the mental dimension of competition. Palmer was troubled by Garcia's repeated failures in major championships. Not the fact of losing. Many great players lost majors. What concerned Palmer was how Garcia appeared to lose. His body language suggested he didn't fully believe he belonged in those moments. He seemed to be bracing for defeat rather than playing to win. Palmer believed the mental aspect of golf was everything. A champion's mind doesn't doubt its right to be in that position. Garcia's did. Garcia finally won a major in 2017, the year after Palmer's death. Many observers believe this breakthrough came when Garcia stopped playing defensively, when he committed fully to competing rather than protecting himself. Palmer would have understood that transformation precisely. Palmer's critiques came from a consistent set of values. He wasn't driven by arrogance or bitterness. He cared about golf as an institution. He believed the way champions conducted themselves mattered because it set standards for everyone watching. It influenced the next generation. It determined what the sport valued. If champions played with grace under pressure, others would pursue the same. If they treated the game with reverence, it remained sacred. If they stayed connected to regular people, golf stayed accessible and authentic. Palmer's standards for respect were consistently character, integrity, and a willingness to struggle honestly. The golfers he didn't respect failed on one or more of these measures. What made Palmer's quiet disapproval significant was that he had earned the authority to judge. He had won more PGA Tour events than nearly anyone. He pioneered professional golf as a global enterprise. He made the game beautiful. And he accomplished all of this while embodying the values he expected from others: accessible, fiercely competitive, but never arrogant or manipulative, never willing to compromise the game's integrity for a tournament. When Palmer said, directly or through implication, that he didn't respect someone, that assessment carried weight. It wasn't criticism from the sidelines. It came from someone who'd been at the highest level and understood what true excellence required. Arnold Palmer died on September 25, 2016. He was 87 years old. In his final years, when Palmer reflected on the golfers he didn't respect, he wasn't settling scores. He was teaching. He was saying, "This is what matters in a life. This is what I believe the next generation should understand." His standards for respect were remarkably clear. They had little to do with the number of major championships. Whether someone won 15 majors or 5 mattered far less than how they won them and what they became in the process. The distinction between excellence and true greatness is this: excellence without character is simply success, a scorecard, a record. Excellence combined with character, achieving something extraordinary while remaining true to yourself, staying humble and accessible, refusing to compromise integrity, that becomes a legacy. That becomes a life that means something. Palmer respected that kind of achievement, not just in golf, but in people. The golfers he didn't respect can still teach us something by understanding his reasoning. And his values extended far beyond golf. They apply to anyone trying to achieve something significant while maintaining their integrity. Greatness means more than winning. It means how you win.